Welcome to On the Sidelines, the show that discusses sports and how sports intersects our lives. I'm your host, Paul McGrath, and I'm glad that you can join us for this special show here at Polar Park in downtown Worcester. Well, how about the lives of two persons involved in sports whose lives would not intersect for almost 50 years? On April 2nd, 1976, the Baltimore Orioles traded a pitcher, Worcester's own Paul Mitchell, to the Oakland A's for slugger Reggie Jackson. Now, there were other players involved in the deal. And at the same time, a young man was about to start his internship with the Baltimore Orioles. He is known today as Dr. Charles Steinberg, president of the Worcester Red Sox. I am pleased to finally have the lives of these two gentlemen intersect on the sidelines. Dr. Steinberg, Paul Mitchell, welcome to On the Sidelines.
Thank you
very much.
I hope you've been ships passing in the night. I hope this isn't a collision. I hope it's an intersection.
It's exciting for me. This is a life moment. You grow up loving the Orioles, watching the Orioles, never even dreaming you could work for the Orioles, and you're hearing about all their highly touted prospects from a great farm system. And there's this guy named Paul Mitchell who's going to be coming up. And then he comes up and he pitches great. And then they trade him. And I finally get to meet him today.
And you grew up in Baltimore, so you...
born and raised.
You had Baltimore. We had Red Sox blood. You had Baltimore
Baltimore
blood.
all the way. And we knew every farm product because Bobby Grich was coming up and Don Baylor was coming up and Johnny Oates was coming up. And you just knew everybody. And the next one is going to be Paul Mitchell. And, we already had Baylor and Grich. And, then you're like, you watch him, and he's great. He's pitching along with Jim Palmer, having both these great 1975 seasons. You can't wait for 76, and then April 2nd, they traded him.
Yeah, that was, since I was in the Oriole organization, for the 3 years previous, was very, very disappointing when I got traded because I was very familiar with the organization, familiar with the players, the coaches, and everything. And then, when you get traded to a place of uncertainty, there's always that feeling that, I was really disappointed.
Well, you had a pretty good season. You were undefeated the year before,
yes.
3-0. And April 2nd was just before the season started. Did this come out of the blue, or were there any did you have any inkling? Or all of a sudden, the Orioles say, have a nice day?
I didn't have any inkling because I was a rookie. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I was just out there to do my job. That's it. Head straight forward, and that was it. And then the day of the trade, I was called into the clubhouse, and I saw Donnie Bill there, and I saw Mike Therese. All three of us were in the trade, and it was for Reggie Jackson, Ken Holtzman. And I saw Mike Therese go in the office, Earl Weaver's office. Then I saw him come out. Then I saw Donnie Baylor go in there. He came out. Then I called me in, and then I went in. And I finally found out that I got traded to Oakland. But one little quick story about this. Donnie Baylor and Bobby Grich, who came up through the organization, I think they spent 4 or 5 years in the minor leagues together and got to the big leagues together. It was so traumatic for them that when Bobby found out, came in off the field, saw Donnie, hugged each other, and just started crying. I mean, it was just unbelievable. It's tough to describe. It is, it's tough to get traded, but you just move on. You got to do it.
Well, when you move on, and we don't think of it, I think, as our regular jobs, all of a sudden you're in Oakland.
Yes.
Where are you living? I mean, they give you a tent or a room, or what happens?
Well, they put you up in a hotel for a while. Then it's your job to find a place to live. That's going to suit your needs and everything. And you want to be close to the ballpark, so you're not too far away. But then, at that particular time, I had a wife, so I had to make sure that she got out there and she felt comfortable with the living situation too. At that time, I didn't have a family, so that just complicates it. So that makes the compounds a little bit different. But, it's up to you to find living quarters that are going to suit you and your wife, and then play baseball.
Yeah, but those were some of the greatest Oriole teams of the 70s and 80s.
Oh, they were amazing because the Orioles had, going back to the '66 World Series, they had won then, didn't have a good '67 when Boston did, but from '68 on, the Orioles had a winning record every year, and Earl Weaver becomes manager, July 11th of '68. So, and he just was, energy on wheels. He was crazy. Loved him, but then you just had this great bountiful farm system. So you were at Rochester, in '74, I guess?
73, 74, came up to the 75.
Yeah. It was always from Rochester to Baltimore that we were the farm club. Rochester was the farm club back then of the Orioles for 41 years. So you're just waiting, who's coming up next? And then, here he comes. And we were just talking to Jim Palmer, and 11 complete games, and goes 3-0, and we think, here we go. And then I remember April 2nd. Were you still at spring training on April 2nd? Yeah.
Yes, we're about to break camp.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a quick story about that. Is that my first year in the minor leagues, I went to Double A right away. I was 14-6, I believe, something like that. Or 16-8. I was 16-8, and I was invited to the big league camp. Now, I had no experience at big league camp, didn't know any of the guys in the big leagues. So I, by myself, walked into the big league camp, and this is when it really realizes that, wow, you're in the big leagues. I stood in the middle of the locker room. I saw Cuellar, McNally. I saw Brooks Robinson, Mark Boone. I saw the lockers with the names over there. And I says, wow. That's when you really realize that you got to your childhood dream was to be a big league baseball player, and your realization came into effect. I said, wow. Almost had to pinch myself, you know what I'm saying? I said, wow, now I arrived. Now I got to compete with these guys and against these guys. So it was a wake-up call.
Well, you, like me, were big Red Sox fans. The doc was Baltimore, but you knew the Red Sox players. All of a sudden, Pittsburgh drafted you. You decided to go to school.
At high school, yes.
The Orioles drafted you number 1.
Yes.
And now, these players that you came in, you kind of knew them, I don't know if a hero, but as big stars. And here you come walking in.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. I am now competing against these guys that I saw on TV. You know what I'm saying? That's the wake-up call. I said, wow, now I got to compete with these guys and against these guys. So, now you arrived.
Now, you mentioned some pitchers, Cuellar, McNally, Palmer.
Yeah.
Did they ever give you any tips? Or how did the pitchers work?
I really can't believe how well they treated us when we first came to camp. They didn't have to go out of their way to talk to us, or but they welcomed us. They said good luck, and all that stuff. They were very welcoming. It was just a surprise. And you know what I really realized? How hard they worked, to maintain their level of skill. They always ran, they always threw. I said, wow, I gotta step it up here a little bit to be with these guys.
Well, we see now today, it seems like pitchers, they don't go that many innings. That more people seem to be hurt. Yet, did you have any techniques to keep your arms strong? What was the difference between today and then?
I started to get a little bit of tendonitis and stuff like that in my arms. So I saw this Mike Marshall who was an LA Dodger relief pitcher. He gave 10 exercises. Yeah, I think it was 9 exercises, each for 1 inning of pitch. And I can't remember them all.
That's because pitchers went 9 innings then.
Yes, yes. And for me, I knew I was starting to get problems, so it was more preventive on my aspect, and it really strengthened my arm, in the upper arm and in the bicep and tricep, the rotator cuff, and all that stuff. So that really helped me out to keep my strength in those particular areas. And and with the thing with Earl, if you were pitching well, he more or less abused you. I wouldn't say it. Let's not. But let's say if you were effective, he kept on using you until you started getting tired, started getting hit, and then he would go to somebody else in the bullpen.
Well, there must be an Earl Weaver story here somewhere.
10 days after Paul gets traded, I get to interview for my non-paid internship 1 month.
Now, how old were you?
17.
You were 17.
I'm
an
in senior
intern.
year of high school.
Okay.
And at Gilman School. And the school helped set you up with internships. And I go in and meet the head of PR, and he gives me a 1976 Orioles media guide and says, have this memorized. And then I start on May 8th, which was a Saturday. We were doing one of the great promotions. It was a Brooks Robinson replica jersey T-shirt giveaway. I started on May 8th. Now, I was sad that Paul Mitchell got traded, but I was glad we got Reggie Jackson. It was pretty cool, you know.
Which were you happier with?
Well, here's the thing. But Reggie didn't come. He stayed away for a month. Remember, what had just happened in baseball the previous December was that Peter Seitz had made his landmark ruling that ended the reserve clause and had said that when your contract is up, it can be renewed 1 year, but it can't be renewed in perpetuity. And so all of these guys in 1976 who had the opportunity to leave their team at the end of the year, they weren't signing. And Charlie Finley knew that a lot of the Oakland A's, who he may have abused, they were going to leave. So Oakland needs to get something for Reggie.
Yeah.
And Don Baylor was a heck of a ball player. So Reggie comes to us, but he's not signed. The Orioles can renew his contract for 1 year, but 1 year only.
But physically, he came.
He waited a month before he came. He missed all of April.
Oh, he never came. Yeah.
I think he came on April 30th. So here we had traded Paul Mitchell, we had traded Mike Torres, we had traded Don Baylor. We got Ken Holtzman, okay, but
Did he show up?
he did.
Okay.
But they wound up giving Reggie more money to finally come. Holtzman was not pleased with that
Okay.
because they could cut you 20% in that 1 year renewal. They're cutting everybody 20%, but they pay Reggie more. So Reggie finally comes, and he starts like a couple days before I start. So I'm a kid in a candy store, and it's kind of amazing that you're there, and Reggie comes in on Monday, May 10th. It was an off day to help update his media guide biography, and it's pretty wild. So I never knew that my month was going to turn out to be 48 years. But I did know that the guys that Paul was saying he saw in that clubhouse, those were the guys we grew up with, and Jim Palmer was at the peak of his game in 75.
Mm-hmm.
He throws 25 complete games, throws 10 shutouts, a 2.09 ERA. So yeah, Paul was not only surrounded by greatness, maybe you did have some good teachers there. And how about pitching coach George Bamberger?
Oh.
He had to like you because you would later be with him.
Yes.
How'd that go?
George was great. The thing that made George so great is that he never talked about the physical aspect of pitching. It was all the mental part. And I think what he wanted you to go out there to pitch, to be as positive and to be as confident as you can be. And that's 90% of the game. You know what I'm saying? With that, he always say, I could be throwing my weakest fastball, my weakest curveball, and he'd say, with that stuff, you're going to go out there and get him out. Just go do it. And it was never about mechanics, about this, about that. Where another guy like Wes Stock was all about mechanics. But George made it so simple. Just go with that stuff, be confident, go get him.
So he's your pitching coach with the Orioles in 75.
Yeah.
5 years later, he's the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yes, my manager in Milwaukee, yeah.
And he had to have wanted you.
He's
Yes.
the other one.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it's quite a intricate family
is.
web.
There's
It
always
is.
connections.
It is.
It's-
It
I mean,
is.
a
cool.
connection that Paul and I had, and we didn't know about it, is we had the same eye doctor here in Worcester, Dr. G. Bert Holmes.
Yes.
And Paul and I, both in college, we didn't know it. Basically, we're losing our eyesight to a disease called keratoconus. You have your the cornea is concave, and it keeps coming to a point.
Yes.
And a contact lens will stay on.
That's correct.
And you were pitching blind. I don't know if you were pitching blind or, I don't know how you did it.
Well, it wasn't easy. it was just a sacrifice. I was determined. I said, I'm going to get to the big leagues, hook or by crook. And it was one of my setbacks. So I had to go see the contact specialists all around the United States. And what they did is they fitted me with what you call a scleral lens, and a scleral lens covers the whole eye itself, so there's no fluctuation. But they're very, very uncomfortable to wear. You know what I'm saying? It's so you got to pop it in and keep it in your eye. And what I would do when I was pitching, I was pop one out because it wasn't getting enough, oxygen. So it came blurry.
Can't breathe.
afterward.
It's got to breathe.
Yeah,
in,
I had to
yeah.
breathe. So I'd go from inning to inning. I'd take one out, put it back in, put it out. So, but it wasn't easy, but it was something I had to do. That's the only way I could pitch.
And you pitched your entire career.
Exactly. The
That
skull
way.
lenses. Yeah.
And sometimes
Wow.
they'd pop out. I know
Yeah.
mine.
Well, when I was down the Cape League, Dr. Bert Holmes says, because, like you said, there was so much fluctuation because your eye is at a point, not a concave. So there was so much flux in the vision because it wasn't stable. So the contacts would keep on falling out. But Dr. Holmes was gracious enough to say that he says, I don't care what it takes. I'll give you as many lenses as you can, and you put those on your eye. He says, I bet you that mound down in Falmouth is going to be worth thousands and thousands of dollars of lenses because they kept on popping them out. And I had all the extras in the back of my pop, and I would pop them back in after every pitch. So, but that's what I had to do.
There was a pitcher, and Doc, you might remember back in 60s, 50s, 60s, by the name of Ryan Duran.
Oh, yeah.
And Ryan Duran had
big
Coke
glasses, right?
bottle glasses.
Yeah.
And I think that, I don't know if the story's true or not, but he was a fastball reliever. And I think Yogi would have him throw a warm-up pitch a little wide, and he kind of say, geez, I don't know if he can see today. Did anyone know in the major leagues that your eyesight wasn't that good?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They did.
Well, my teammates did because I always saw me with the eyes and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah. And, like I said, I'm sitting on the bench before innings. I got one big scleral lens in my hand. And they say, what the hell is that? And I said, that's what I got to pop in my eyes to see. But the thing is, too, when you talk to a major league hitter, those guys have the best vision.
Oh, well, Ted
'Cause
Williams
some of
could
those
see the
guys
spin,
can see
yeah.
spin on the ball.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He says, you're going to be kidding me. You can see the spin on the ball?
You probably couldn't see the
No.
spin on your own ball.
I'm blind. I can see the ball. That's about. And when I had a pitch, I couldn't see fingers, so I had to use flaps.
So they have to go.
Yeah,
They do the flaps, yeah.
No kidding.
yeah.
I'd
Right.
say- right.
Right
The
curveball
75.
slider. Yeah.
You had Dave Duncan
Yes.
Dave-
And I had Dave
and
Duncan.
Elrod.
Elrod Hendricks.
Right.
That's right.
Elrod was the best.
Yeah.
He was. He was.
Oh my gosh.
So you would go, so you traded to Oakland and then you Seattle,
Yeah.
Milwaukee. So the catchers had to learn
Yes.
that you weren't the normal pitcher. I
Right.
mean,
Wow.
Right.
That
Well,
was-
they didn't want to get hurt. They didn't want to
Right.
get. They didn't want to get mixed up. They,
How many years are you in Seattle? You're with the expansion
2.5
Seattle Mariners.
2.5 years. Yeah.
77, 78, and into 79.
Yeah, I had 1 year with the Orioles. Then I had
Yeah.
like 2.5 years with Oakland.
Oh,
Well, 2
so-
years
so-
with
so-
2.5
okay.
years with Seattle, and then almost 2 years with
wait a minute. So,
Milwaukee.
in Seattle, you're with Lou Gorman.
Yes.
There you go. Right.
Yes.
How about that? That's cool.
Yeah.
Right? He would
What a
later.
great guy he
yeah.
was.
Oh, the
Oh,
best.
he was-
And he had
he was.
started with the Orioles in
Yes.
the early 60s.
Yes.
And then winds up being the
Yes.
for the Red Sox.
Oh,
Oh, what a great guy.
Great guy. Great guy.
So they took all these really good Oriole executives, John
Yes.
Shorholtz,
Yes.
Lou Gorman, and you
Yes.
start an expansion team. You
Yeah.
wanted Lou Gorman to build
Yeah.
it. That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
so you
And
you
then
do
Harry
a lot.
Dalton went to Milwaukee.
Right. Yeah. Right. And Harry Dalton. So Harry Dalton brought you to Milwaukee
With George, yeah.
Bamberger.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
so the same general manager, we call
Yeah.
him director of player personnel at the Orioles, who had been there when you came
Yes.
up,
Yes.
was now in
Yes.
Milwaukee,
Yes.
and that's how you got to Milwaukee
Yes.
with George
Yes.
Bamberger.
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that
so when you came to spring training,
Yeah.
they
With
talk
who?
about physicals, any team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did they ever give you an eye exam and say, Paul, can
No.
you see? They never
No.
gave you an eye exam.
No.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah, because I probably would have.
Well, let's go over. Doc, you're a dentist by trade.
Right.
So
I didn't
did
think I
you
was
have
gonna
a
get to.
Cal Ripken, Brooks? Did you ever look in their mouths, open those pearly whites? How did a team dentist work? I can think of it in hockey, but baseball.
Well, again, I got this internship in high school. Thought it was going to be 1 month. They saw that I could move boxes around on giveaway days, so they let me stay the rest of that year. Then they make me Earl Weaver's statistician. And I was not a math whiz. Thank God they had invented calculators. So I'm doing Earl's stats. But I think this is going to end at the end of every year. I've started college at the University of Maryland. And I'll be practical. My parents are gone now, but my dad was an orthodontist, and dentistry looked good. So I'm studying in college for the courses you need for dental school.
But you got a degree in zoology.
Well, because when you go to the University of Maryland, I was going to major in biology.
Yeah.
They didn't call it biology.
Oh.
They divided it into botany, plant life,
I see.
or animal life, zoology.
Yeah.
So it's really biology, but without the plants. But I'm going to apply to dental school, and the Orioles keep letting me work summer after summer. It's like this extension of a dream come true. I get into dental school. Well, that's the University of Maryland in Baltimore, in downtown Baltimore, not at College Park. So I keep working for the Orioles. I'm like, I'll become the team dentist. And
Really?
yeah, I thought that might be a way to do it because I love the baseball work.
Yeah.
And so when I was in dental school, I did a doctoral thesis on the mouth guards that you wear, whether you wear them in football or basketball, but you didn't normally wear them in baseball.
No.
But some guys did.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
There's this guy on the Chicago White Sox who wears a mouth guard. I'd known him from his years with the Red Sox as a fan. I meet Carlton Fisk.
Carlton wore a mouth guard?
He said, I had so much dental work done, I didn't want a foul tip off the mask to break that crown and bridge work. So I'm studying it, and I'm finding there are more and more dental stories. And so I wind up becoming the team dentist. And one of the early moments was when my father actually came to help on this one, when someone named Ripken had trouble with braces, but it wasn't Cal. It was Cal's sister Ellie. And my dad and I go out to my dad's office, and he takes care of Al Ripken's sister's braces. And by the way, Al and his brother Billy and their brother Fred will all tell you that the best ball player in the family was the sister Ellie.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Cal would say that. So yeah, Eddie Murray's brother was my first patient when I actually practiced in the office with my dear friend Charlie Fine. And I thought that's what was going to happen. And then I thought, wait a minute, the baseball work is so fun. How about if I keep dentistry part-time and let's just see where this baseball work goes.
Where it leads, yeah.
Wow.
And it led me to Worcester. How about that?
It's a long road, but you're here. So did you actually have a dental chair and all everything in the...
No, I didn't have a chair in the office. When at the ballpark, I would go in the trainer's room. There were ball players who might have trouble or who were starting to get worried about the tobacco they were using.
Oh,
Yeah.
And so I would
issue,
examine them there. When we designed Camden Yards, we did design it with a room for my dental chair. Now, the funny thing was, I leave the Orioles, I go with Larry Lucchino out to San Diego, and you know what they changed my dental room to?
I give up.
A room where they stored the candy for the ball players.
Oh, no, that's justice.
It was loaded with M&Ms.
Oh, my God.
So kind of, they went the opposite way. But yeah, I practiced part-time. I would practice Monday night, Wednesday night. But I would be at the ballpark, and there were times when we would treat a player after the game out at the office late at night. They're going on a road trip the next day, and you needed to be taken care of. Look, I never foresaw any of this. I thought I was going to be a normal Baltimore dentist. Yeah, I didn't know that this dream that I didn't dare to dream could go on. But when you're growing up in Baltimore in the 1960s and 70s, the Colts were great, and they broke Baltimore's heart, when they left
Right.
in the middle of the night. No one will ever use Mayflower moving in Baltimore again. But I loved baseball, and the Orioles were everything. And so you get to meet Paul Mitchell now here in Worcester. That's a pretty big deal. I already left word from my best friend from first grade. So I'm going to meet Paul Mitchell. You're a big deal. That's true.
Not really.
I'm going to read something here, if you don't mind. This is Jacques Barzon, 1954. He was an American historian. Whoever wants to know the heart and mind of America had better learn baseball, the rules and realities of the game. But this is the part you don't hear. And do it by watching first some high school or small town teams. And you, Doctor, last week or the week before, we had the high school championships here. I mean, they're playing on this field. I mean, what more can you ask for? I mean, I don't know what field you played on as a kid growing up. We didn't have anything like this.
Oh, my God.
I know that, but give credit to my colleague, Bill Wanless. Bill's been with the Pawtucket Red Sox, now Worcester Red Sox, since 1985. And he was the one saying, we should get the MIAAs here. We should get the MIAAs here. We got them here last year. So they're playing here last year. And I was in this room. It's like a second office. It's a suite during the game. And I was doing some work. And I hear cheers like you're hearing with a packed house in look, we've been to postseason. We know World Series. What is that noise? I open the door, and Oakmont's fans are just loud and creating an energy. Well, it was a great game. The game grips me. I'm watching the whole thing. It was one of those really classic baseball games. And yes, it was high school. And yes, it was awesome. And yes, the crowd was going crazy. And I still talk about it. And so we just had the MIAs here again. Oakmont was back again. St. John's was here.
Well, St. John's is my alumni, my school. It was down here on Temple Street when I went. And we're going to skip over a little bit. But in 2002, you were elected to the Cape Cod Hall of Fame with Jason Varitek, Nomar Garcia-Pera, and another St. John's alumni, Ron Darling.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And so the fields you play on, we didn't have any Polo Park.
No.
But when you pitched in the majors or anywhere, were there any parks that you thought, I don't want to pitch here, like Fenway or...
Oh, yeah. Because you got to realize that when I pitched at Fenway, I had about 50, 60 people in the stands. It was tough enough to pitch against the Red Sox without having 50 or 60 relatives in there.
Yeah.
And the teams that I had to face, you had George Scott, you had Yastrzemski, you had Jimmy Rice, you had Freddie Lynn, you had, oh my God, you had, I mean, you didn't sleep the night before that you had to pitch against the Red Sox.
You're pitching against the 75
World Series.
World Series
team.
Yes.
In your rookie year.
Yes.
Oh my God.
But Fenway was not your favorite park.
What?
Well,
no. And
The pitch.
Realize this is that when in '75, I pitched in the old Cleveland Stadium.
Oh,
I pitched in the
huge
old
80,000 seats.
Yes, I pitched in the old Detroit Stadium.
Big stadium, yeah.
Old Chicago Comiskey Park.
Yeah.
I mean, the old ballparks, who should have been knocked down 10 years before that.
Right.
And Fenway was okay. I mean, it's not like it is now. Fenway the playing field was okay, but the locker rooms were old Yankees. In fact, the Yankee Stadium was being renovated when I played my first year in 1975.
Yeah, that's right.
We played at Shea Stadium.
Shea Stadium.
Yeah, so I played in Minnesota Twins.
Right.
Where that was the old.
That was the old Metropolitan Stadium. All right, so wait, what happened when you pitched against the Red Sox at Fenway?
My rookie year, I pitched against them twice.
Now, what is that like?
Okay, want a quick little story?
Hey,
Okay, little story.
your story's my story. Go.
Okay, so remember I told you that streak that I had where I pitched 27 consecutive innings?
Consecutive, yeah.
Yeah,
Without a run.
Without a run, okay. So this was the last time I pitched was in Detroit against the Tigers. I came in relief from who was pitching?
in '75.
Could have been Mike Guire would pitch it, and he only went about 2 or 3 innings. So I finished the game. My locker is right here, and Earl Weaver's locker room. Well, he didn't have a locker; he had a room, and he was entertaining all the reporters. And he saw me out here, and my locker was right next to his room. And he says, "I know one goddamn thing: Mitchell ain't pitching at Fenway Park. That's for sure." Because I had pitched 2 previous times and I didn't do too well. We won. Yeah. We won both those games, but I didn't pitch that well.
Well, the Yankees would never let supposedly Whitey Ford pitch at Fenway.
Oh, okay.
The lefty. I mean, supposedly. Now, in the 70s, they got the cookie cake cutter stadiums, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, all those. Mm-hmm. But then Baltimore, we changed that. We said stadiums have a personality just like cities. And I think Baltimore started that.
Right. So I'm at the Orioles, and we're at Memorial Stadium. You pitched there, and I grew up loving
Memorial
it.
Stadium, yes.
I thought it was the best. And on August 2nd of 1979, the team gets sold. Edward Bennett Williams, this Washington lawyer, buys the team, which is terrifying to Baltimore because he might move the team to Washington. They had lost their team. And along with him comes his young lawyer that he brings. So you got all these lawyers coming into Baltimore from Washington. That's not good news. Well, I wind up getting to interact with the young lawyer. And even though he kind of reminds me of Earl Weaver in a suit, we got along well. And that was Larry Lucchino. Oh. And he's explaining to me that we need a new ballpark. I'm like, Larry,
I remember that.
No.
Oh, so he was a lawyer with Edward Bennett Williams for. Oh, I see. That's how.
Yes.
See, yeah.
And Larry had been very into sports. He had been all-city second baseman in Pittsburgh at Taylor Alderdice. Had been a good basketball player. Went to the Final Four with Princeton, with Bill Bradley. Yeah. And now Williams was the president of the Washington Redskins. Larry gets a Super Bowl ring working with them. So now here he is at the Orioles, and he's telling me that my home that I've grown up in, Memorial Stadium, isn't going to be good enough. We need an old-fashioned downtown ballpark with modern amenities. I said, Larry, you might be this Washington lawyer and this, Ivy League educated guy from Princeton and Yale Law, but I'm from Baltimore, and we like Memorial Stadium. We don't want to go downtown. He goes, no, you're going to see. People will go downtown, and it will bring life back to downtown.
Well, you guys had a great introduction to each other.
Well, there were those, but I wasn't afraid of him because I'm going to be a dentist.
Oh,
I can say whatever I want.
Yeah.
And it was a new owner.
You had options.
Well, I had options. And so I would speak to him with candor, and he appreciated that somebody was speaking to him with candor.
Yeah.
But he still held on to that vision. And he and Janet Marie Smith do design Camden Yards, and he was exactly right. And I was wrong. And I had the zeal of the convert. And we go out to San Diego, and we do it again. And we come to Boston, and I said, are we going to replace Fenway? He goes, have you learned nothing? You don't destroy the Mona Lisa. You preserve the Mona Lisa. This is the kind of park that was inspiring Camden Yards. So I'm a little slow. But Larry and Janet Marie, with John Henry and Tom Werner, saved Fenway Park and made it a lot different from the Fenway that you pitched in 1975. So, but Camden Yards started this revolution. We opened it up in '92, and all these mayors from all over the country are flying in to see it. I remember the mayor of Philadelphia, Frank Rizzo, were given a tour. He goes, I need one of these. Okay, suit yourself. Well, Philadelphia gets one. Denver sent a whole delegation. Pittsburgh sent a whole delegation. They wanted to see this. San Francisco.
San Diego.
And we wound up doing the one in San Diego. But they're all flying in saying, this would revitalize our downtown. And that takes you all the way to today in Worcester, where we're the only team that has sold more than 500,000 tickets each of the past 2 years in minor league baseball. So you're bringing 500,000 people to the Canal District and bringing new life along with all those who've been working on the Canal District. And that's what baseball and ballparks can do.
Right. We have a beautiful question. You may speak. Okay.
The ballparks that these guys play in are just unbelievable facilities. They have everything.
Well, I think
there.
facilities is the word.
Everything there. I went back to Rochester. I was inducted in the Hall of Fame up there, to their stadium, which was state of the art. Now, I didn't play in a stadium that nice in the big leagues, and yet these AAA kids, look at this facility.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
In the big leagues, I didn't play in a stadium as nice as this. Well, probably the facilities that they have here, you know?
2 days ago, Janet Marie Smith, who designed Camden Yards and is the preeminent ballpark designer with Larry Lucchino. She just did Dodger Stadium's renovation. She was here the last 2 days, and we meet with our manager, Chad Tracy, and we're looking at where our players' batting tunnels are and the visiting team's batting tunnels.
Batting tunnels. What's that?
Exactly.
Never had those. I mean, it was just, no.
And Chad Tracy saying, we're using those more than we're spending time on the field in practice.
For practice, yeah.
Yes. And so the last 2 days, we've been talking about the future of AAA ballparks as player development facilities for their big league club. And we're only, 45 minutes away from the big league
Right
club.
here, yeah.
And so that's all changing. And so, yes, it's a player development facility.
Exactly.
As well as a ball field to play.
They have media rooms where they could take a look at the guy pitching. The guy has an at-bat, goes back to the media room to take a look at his swings. Are you kidding me? We had nothing like that when I was playing. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
It's all memory. Oh, what was that pitch that I threw there? Okay. Then you hit it out. There was nothing like media rooms, hitting tunnels, probably the training facilities, the training room facilities are probably like doctor, just like hospitals.
They'd have a real dentist,
Yeah.
So now beside the park, we have promotions. I mean, when you played, I think one time somebody had a disco park and a $5 beer. Those were disasters. But Doc, you have promotions almost every night. I mean, how do you come up with those? And do you ever have a bad one?
Yes, but Paul Mitchell was blessed with the ability to play.
Right.
When you get 2 hits in 2 years of Little League, you know that you're not blessed with the ability to play. But you can still be a great fan.
So you probably got 2 more than me, yeah.
Well, I doubt it. I think I hold the record in futility. But a fan knows what draws them to the game.
The real
fan.
Now,
I loved scoring the game in that book, and I've just found that I have a lot of my score books. And so that's enough for me. But I understood as the game went on and we got the video boards and that it was becoming something that had to draw you to it. And you count on the ball game to have something special. Now, what grew over the years was your role as in civic responsibility. And you realize we could cast the spotlight on Mrs. Pappas and thank her for Dr. Pappas, the Red Sox legendary team physician. And you could make people think, oh yeah, medicine has played a key role in our lives and our careers. You can cast the spotlight on a veteran. We've had people not only in their 90s, we've had them in their hundreds who are getting standing ovations for their service, some in the Battle of the Bulge in World War II. Now, who thinks that at age 100, I'm going to be standing on the field at a ballpark and get a standing ovation to thank me for what I did in 1944, So the promotions are sometimes fun and can be silly.
Right.
But they can also have real civic meaning.
Yes.
And now when we're providing college scholarships to middle schoolers in Worcester so that 8th graders know they're getting a $10,000 scholarship to go to college, well, is that a promotion? I wouldn't call it that, but it's a good deed.
Yeah.
There's a lot you can do. So yeah, we do some of the fun things, and so we're probably leading the league in mascots now. But even it's true. Well, think about it. But we learned about Worcester. So this is where Harvey Ball drew the smiley face.
That's
so
correct.
our mascot's Smiley Ball. Well, we want him to have a dog, so we have Worcester, the Wonder Dog. But then, hold on, Robert Goddard grew up here inventing the rocketry, the first liquid-fueled rocket.
Yeah.
So we create Roberto the Rocket. And then my colleague, John Canavan, says, well, don't forget Clara Barton founded the American Red Cross. She was from Oxford, right here in Worcester County. So this year we debuted Clara, the Heart of the Commonwealth. But for the kids, they may be more familiar with Smiley Ball and Worcester and Roberto and Clara than they are with Nick York, who we hope is one of the many ball players here who's going to go up to Fenway. But you may not know that at age 7.
Oh, God, yeah.
But you do know that you can take your picture with Clara. So you do change the presentation of the game, but you've got to respect that the guys playing AAA ball are one phone call away, one moment away, you hope, from their dreams coming true. So you got to protect that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always say
Very good point.
AAA ball
Very good
is that close to the majors, but that close is that close. I mean,
So
there's a
was your debut in the majors in '75 or
Yes.
Yeah. So
Against the Red Sox.
right against the Red Sox
Against the Red Sox.
in Baltimore or Fenway?
Fenway.
Fenway. That was your
Fenway.
debut.
I think it was June. I get called up, and I go in the locker room. Earl calls me in. He says, "Oh, you're going to be starting against the Red Sox."
I didn't say anything, of course. I said, but the in itself said, "Oh no."
So did you face Yaz and
Yes.
Rice and Lynn?
Yes. That whole team. Yes, we won 12-8. But
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
I don't know who I pitched against.
Were you shaking?
Yes. I am going out. I'm going out to warm up for the game. I'm going out. I'm in right field now. Hey, Paul. Hey, I'm going out to warm up, and I'm waving at people in the stands. And then when I'm warming up, there's about 50 people watching it. You know, all my family and friends. And hey, Paul, how you doing? You know, I'm trying to get into a game mindset. You know, but there's all these people on the stands. Hey, Paul, how you doing? Oh my God!
All right. Now, but just before you got the call, you're at Rochester then.
Yes.
And were you at home in Rochester when you got the call? How did you find out you were going to the big leagues?
Back then, the major league team always comes up and plays the
Yes. One game.
yes.
Major league team
Yeah,
flies
they
into
fly
Rochester.
in and then they go
Yes.
back out. Well, they told me you're going to pitch this game against the big league team, and then you're going to go back with them. So
Wow.
but I didn't know I was going to pitch against the Red Sox.
Right. Oh my gosh.
so you pitched against the Orioles,
The regular,
your own team.
the major league
then
team.
you get on a plane and you went right to Fenway.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. I went. How did it go? No, I flew into Baltimore. We were playing the Minnesota Twins.
Oh,
And our next home.
Oh, so
our
you
next-
didn't pitch at all, and
Not
in
against. No,
Baltimore.
because I was going to pitch against the Red Sox.
Oh, he had you slotted. Oh.
Yes. We yes. Yeah. We were playing against the Minnesota Twins. We had a 3-game series with them, and then our next series was against the Red Sox at Fenway Park.
Wow.
And here's the ball. Go get them.
And where'd you go? Where'd you grow up? You grew up in Worcester itself. Whereabouts?
Vernon Hill.
Right here. Right up there.
Right up there.
Oh my
St.
God.
Vincent. I went to Worcester Academy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Still a great school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you go, and now your major league debut is pitching
Yes.
against the
Yes.
Boston Red
About
Sox
your favorite team.
Yeah.
in 1975.
Right.
I was. I never.
That's amazing.
Another quick story. I was playing for our little league team, and we had an all-star team. We're going to play in that citywide tournament, and we're practicing. And the Worcester Academy has a summer, not a summer school, but
Like a
summer
camp?
sports program. Yeah, sports program. And the kids were on the other side of the fence. They would give us a hard time. Oh, you guys, all this stuff. So we need a practice game. So our coach says, well, let's go have a game. We'll have a game over there tomorrow. So we went over to Worcester Academy, had a game. They marked the field off. So I pitched 3 innings, struck out all 9 guys, and hit 2 home runs. D. Rowe, who was the head coach at Worcester Academy, okay, was a sports. He had the whole camp. He says, "Son, what's your name?" He said, "My name's Paul Mitchell." He says, "Is your dad Paul Mitchell?" "Yeah, that's my father." "I know where you go in high school."
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how you went to Worcester
Yeah,
Academy.
yeah. So that was I was in the 7th grade there. I went to Providence, and then we kept in touch. I went to they have like a program during the winter. They opened up the school, the gym, the neighborhood kids. I went. He introduced me to all the players over there. So that was when I got to be a freshman. That's when I went to high school.
Pretty good.
Well, gentlemen, we can go on, but
We could.
all good things must come to an end, and this
Yeah.
must come to an end.
Well, at least chapter 1.
Chapter 1. One thing we've never done on the sideline,
Never,
never done this,
never. Okay.
is make a presentation. So I have here for you, Dr. Charles,
For me, it looks
you-
like
for you-
something for Paul.
Yeah.
is a rookie
Wow.
baseball card of Paul Mitchell. Now you can tell your wife, clear the mantle.
Yeah.
This is an heirloom. Get your insurance. Get a rider on your insurance. This is for you.
Look at that.
Oh, I got to sign it.
Look at that.
You can
Yeah,
sign it
I've
here.
got-
Okay, you want
You
to do
got
it?
a-
You
you
can
got a
do it on
Sharpie?
camera. I even have a Sharpie.
It got to be blue.
Right.
Got to be blue.
I'm gonna take- I'll-
Okay, he'll do it.
I'll do it. I'll
Now
do it.
that's interesting. Jim Rice was in here yesterday and said it's got to be blue. Now
Why?
why
Yeah,
is it?
why is that?
Why is it a blue
Because
shirt?
you can't believe how many I get. I still sign for these. I get about probably 3 or 4 a week to sign. In fact, I signed a couple this morning.
Really? Yeah.
Yes, I was doing my bills, and I got about 3 or 4 fan letters,
Oh.
and they all request it. I think it comes authentic, or it comes
Really?
valuable if you have the blue Sharpie.
Really?
They won't accept a black Sharpie.
It's amazing what you learn.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to
Yeah.
pay a bill instead of paying a bill. Here, I'll sign the card and send the card.
Yeah,
in.
you got to sign with the blue. I got about 5 blue Sharpies in my desk drawer because the request,
Really?
all the requests has to be a blue Sharpie.
Do people actually send you and say, "I want to"?
Some people will send the blue Sharpie with the card.
How many? No wonder you have so many blue Sharpies.
Yes, yes. And I go to Florida during the winter every time, and I have to bring a blue Sharpie with me because all my mail is delivered to
Yeah,
me
they
in
forward
Florida.
it down, yeah.
Yes, they forward it down. So my wife came down there. Sorry, the first 2 years my wife was still working. She was a dental hygienist.
Oh, no kidding. All right.
So she would come down the second month because
You got an opening here for a dental hygienist?
So the doctor she worked for, he said, "I'll let you go for a month, but I can't let you go for 2 months." So the second year she comes down with all the mail, and I got about 40 cards to sign. He says, "I don't know why you got so many cards. You weren't that good." I said, "Thanks,
I'm telling you.
thank you very much."
We were big fans. We were big fans in Baltimore, and
Yeah.
remembered you coming up, and remembered you
yeah.
getting traded. So we missed you, but
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was tough. It was difficult getting traded because I knew the ball players, I knew the organization, I knew the manager, I knew the coaches, and it's tough breaking those ties. It's just and plus going to a place you're not really certain of.
Oh, you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Well, I think we're finally going to end the show. This is Paul McGrath saying, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you at the game. And if you're not in the game, I hope to see you on the sidelines.